What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. A big thank you to Underdog for sponsoring today's video, and a big thanks to all of you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, and it does help the channel continue to grow as the season moves along. Now, the Warriors have finally gotten their groove back. They are 3 games over 500, and they're starting to really take advantage of this homestand and build that camaraderie that really, or that helped with the momentum that they had post trade deadline last year when they went 23-8. And you knew even when things weren't going their way in the first half, they were going to turn it on in the second half. We saw that with what happened in the Trailblazers game when they completely dominated the Blazers from start to finish, ending the season series with a win, even though they lost their last 3. And when it comes to that momentum, I think it's especially important to continue it, especially when you are taking on a good team like the Knicks. Now, the Knicks, they are an interesting story right now because they've been reeling a bit these last few games. I believe they've lost like 5 out of their last 6. I have to double check on that. But yeah, in their last 10, they've gone 5-5. So they're not exactly playing at the top of their game right now. And even though they do have a significant size advantage at certain areas, like at the shooting guard and a little bit at the point guard level as well as the big man level, the Warriors, I think their experience will pay dividends in this game, especially at home. Now, the Warriors are going to be, let's call it a little banged up because they've been working so hard these last few games, and I anticipate this to be a much closer game than the Trailblazers game, but I still think the Warriors are going to come out on top. And with this win versus the Knicks, the Warriors have a win against one of the top teams in the East. And if you think about it, when you beat one of the top teams in the East, that means life is easier once you get to the finals. The hard part is going to be getting to the finals, but once you're there, you're golden. Now, for what the Warriors need, we still know that we need Draymond to get extremely physical with Karl Anthony Towns. We need Quentin Post to find ways to draw Towns out to the perimeter, and we need Al Horford to really be on point with his three-point shot because they need to stretch the floor. They're not really going to get anything done in the middle. I kind of accept that fact because if they're playing both Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns in a rotation, and maybe Gershon as well, they are going to get physical down there, and it's not going to play out well for Al Horford, Quentin Post. Maybe Draymond could take them on, but any time he gets physical, I always get a little worried that he's going to get a technical. Next thing you know, he gets thrown out of the game. We're down one player. The defense gets better, but we're still down Draymond as a guy who's a swing player who will take that quick pass, move it to the open guy, and the open guy will get that quick shot. So I don't want anything like that to happen. And because there is that camaraderie with the Nova Knicks, there may also be, let's call it some schemes to get Draymond into foul trouble, get him angry, and find ways to get those potential points down the road with getting him into early foul trouble, as well as getting possibly a technical or two. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but the Knicks are a very gritty team, and they are a force to be reckoned with, though I still think the Warriors do have what it takes to win out this game based off of how well D'Anthony Melton has played, how well Gary Payton II has played, how well Steph and Jimmy have played in recent games, and how well Draymond has so far been in the last week and a half. I haven't heard any complaints so far, and I know I'm just taking it one game at a time, but I'm happy with it. Now, that being said, I was thinking about what I said in a previous video regarding the Warriors going after Andre Drummond. And the more I think about it and the more I'd love for it to happen, the more unlikely it seems. Because I was thinking about it, looking over the numbers, the Sixers need Drummond. He is just so essential to their roster that they're not even going to entertain a trade. And the main reason that is because of the uncertainty surrounding Joel Embiid. You don't know if he'll blow out one or both of his knees at any given time during the game. So they need him as a solid plan 1A. So they're not going to give him up. Now, that being said, there is one guy, again, that the Warriors have to look back into, especially after they played him last game, and that is Robert Williams. Now, I was kind of against Robert Williams because of his injury history, both with the Celtics and with the Blazers, but you know what? He's an expiring contract, and I think that does play well for the Warriors. The only issue I have with acquiring him is what it's going to cost to bring him in. Though, thinking about it, it's not going to cost as much as we believe because of how stacked how clogged up they are at the 5 position. They have Donovan Clingan, they have Hanson Yang or Yang Hansen, however you want to call him, and then they have Robert Williams. I think it may only take, I want to say pods, and I know you guys have been giving me grief about just hating on pods or just wanting to trade pods, but the fact is we've seen highs and we've seen really low lows. And look, we're in the team is in win now mode, and sometimes that means giving up young guys with potential who have been a little bit inconsistent to get solid guys like Robert Williams and put him in the middle to solve a big problem they've had, which is their interior post presence as well as their offensive and defensive boards. Now, looking at the last game, Robert Williams, I believe he had a double-double. I think it was, 14 and 10? Let me get this up. I believe I know he had 11 rebounds, I want to say. But he really put in his work, and out of all the guys, all the big men in the game, he was the only one putting up legitimate numbers in the post. I don't believe Donovan Clingan did anything. Hanson Yang didn't really do much. But in all fairness, I will take what he has to offer because it is exactly what the Warriors need. Now, bringing these stats up. Yep, he had 11 points. 11 points to go along with 8 rebounds. Now, that might not say much about Williams, but you know what? A big man having at least 8 rebounds is exactly what the Warriors need. Now, looking at these rebounds, it was a total of 7 defensive rebounds and 1 offensive rebound. That is one extra second chance opportunity that the Blazers got because of Robert Williams. Imagine if that moves up to 2 and then to 3 with the Warriors, and at a cost of what? Trace Jackson Davis, Guy Santos, and Pods? I'll take it. I mean, granted, Trace Jackson Davis might go in a potential LaMelo Ball trade if they decide to pursue that, but that remains to be seen because there's still a long time until the trade deadline, and so many different opportunities can materialize, especially if Memphis decides to go full rebuild and just ships out Ja Morant and ships out Jaren Jackson Jr. and brings in a plethora of picks and bad contracts to take on even more picks. So it remains to be seen, but I'm sort of thinking on the positive side for the Warriors because, look, Jimmy Butler fell into their lap last season, and I get the feeling another player is going to fall into their lap this season because of how many negative assets are out there, and the Warriors are going to gamble, and they're going to take advantage of that bet and then capitalize once they win. Now, fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at the Warriors Knicks game, specifically at Jimmy Butler to go over his usual 20.5 points per game, and Mikal Bridges to go over his usual 16.5 points per game. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BASKETBALLFAN. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Now, since we're talking about stats and just the underdog in general, I want to go into the potential higher or lowers for Steph Curry based off of his last 5 games. Now, looking at it, last game, Steph was Mr. Distribute Everywhere. I mean, that was... I can't remember the last time he scored in single digits, going 7, 4, and 11. That was just out of this world crazy because I did not see that coming. I anticipated him to have at least 25 to 26 points, but 7 points is crazy. And I will take this as an outlier because it was one of those games and everybody got involved. And I think getting everybody involved is really what mattered and contributed to the Warriors finally getting over the hump versus the Trailblazers. Now, before that, we saw Steph being Steph with 31 versus Atlanta, 27 versus Sacramento, 31 again versus Milwaukee, and then another 27 versus the Clippers. So that's his usual thing. So I want to say he's going to go higher than 26 points versus the Knicks. And I think that's pretty much a definite. He's going to be scoring a lot versus the Knicks defense, and he's really going to draw them out of their comfort zone. And if we're lucky, we may even see a 40-point performance out of Steph versus the Knicks. So I'm excited to see that. Now, looking at his rebound and his assist total, that's where things get a little tricky because you're not really sure where he's going to go with his assists. His assists, they've been solid, but they haven't been overly consistent. Like sometimes he'll get 2, 3, but this past week, twice he's hit double-digit assists, 11 versus Portland as well as 10 versus Sacramento. But I take the Sacramento game with a grain of salt because of how badly they blew them out. So I'm sort of sort of half and half. Now, if the projections show over 8.5 assists for Steph versus the Knicks, I'm going to have to go with lower. Just because he's going to be their primary scorer against the Knicks. And when you're scoring, you're not really focused on passing the ball. Now, rebounds has always been the interesting one when it comes to Steph. Because sometimes he'll give you 6, sometimes he'll give you 1, another time he'll give you 8, another time he'll give you 2. You're not really sure because, you know what? You look at it. 4 last game, 3 versus Atlanta, none versus Sacramento, and then 6 versus Milwaukee because he was grabbing boards like a madman. And then another 4 versus the Clippers. So I believe his average is around, I want to say, 4.5 rebounds per game. So if the projections are, say, like 3.5, I'm going to have to go with higher than 3.5 rebounds per game. And that's a pretty solid pick to go higher on. I'm very confident with him going higher than that. Now, when it comes to the combination of the 3, that's a bit harder because all these things, they like to fluctuate. And you know what? If the projections are giving you 35.5 when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists, I'm going to go with higher as well because Steph is the guy who can just make magic happen the same way that Michael Jordan used to make it happen. And, regardless of who he's playing or who the Warriors are playing, you're going to get a show and you're going to have a great time. And regardless if you're right or wrong, it's going to be a great experience. Now, again, a big thanks to Underdog for this segment. But moving on to some of the other stuff that the Warriors have been dealing with, I did see some bad news. And that is, again, as I brought up earlier, the Grizzlies might go into a full rebuild. And that's a bit problematic for the Warriors because a full rebuild right now, they're at the 10th seed. So they're right at the edge of the play and leading the Clippers by 1. And the Clippers are literally screaming, clawing, and doing whatever they can to make it into the postseason. 1, because of the Kawhi Leonard aspiration fiasco, as well as 2, they don't own their first-round pick until I don't 20 31. So they have no choice but to stay competitive. If anything, they're going to be buyers. And Memphis going into the trade deadline or post trade deadline, completely rebuilding, trading away Ja Morant, trading away Jaren Jackson Jr. is literally the perfect opportunity for the Clippers to make their move up into the 10th seed, up into the 9th seed, and say the Warriors keep moving up into the 8th seed as well. This team wants to stay out of the lottery as much as possible. And because of that, I doubt Ivica Zubac, who I did not learn his name was Ivica until this morning. I always thought it was Ivan Zubac, but Ivica. Now I know. And I don't know if any of you guys thought it was Ivan too, but if you did, please comment below so I know it's not only me. But anyway, Ivica Zubac is no longer going to be traded if the Blazers go into a full rebuild. And for me, as a Warriors fan, I really wanted the Warriors to make a deal for Zubac, but that's pretty much not going to happen because of how much the Clippers want to make the postseason this year and how much they need to make the postseason moving forward and how important the core of Zubac, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden is to this team. Now, bottom line is, as I've said before, a win against the Knicks solidifies their turning point. Now, this would be, what, I want to say, the fourth or fifth game. Hold on. I believe it's okay. So they won against Milwaukee. They won against Sacramento. They lost against Atlanta. They won against the Blazers. I mean, going 4-1 in your first 5 games of the homestand, that's exactly what you want them to do. I mean, if they win against the Knicks, it solidifies their turning point because they're winning in droves again. They're getting further and further above 500, and they're really coming together as a whole team instead of a bunch of individuals trying to chase stats. And when you're a whole team, you're a lot harder to deal with. Look at it. You've got 5 different guys chasing different statistics. One guy may be chasing rebounds. One guy may be chasing points. One guy may be chasing assists. Versus one team after a singular goal united by one leader that is Steph Curry. Now, that is going to be a tough team to beat, and this win against the Knicks is going to do that for this Warriors team. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, thanks again to our sponsor, Underdog, as well as thanks to you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. And if you have any ideas on what let's say a win-win Robert Williams trade would look like, feel free to comment below, as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.